Somewhere in this storm of static is a message, a real one in plain English, but you cannot see it, and for a while, neither could the people whose whole job is to listen. This is a story about the faintest thing we still reach for, a whisper from a machine we launched in 1977, now so far away that its voice has almost nothing left. And it is about how, against all reason, we still manage to hear almost every word it says. It started here, in the summer of 1977. Voyager 1 was built before a computer in the home was normal. By anything we would recognize today, the machine is almost humble. A big dish antenna, a few long booms, and a computer that holds less than a single photo from your phone. There is no screen, no spare parts, and no second chance. But it was built to last, and to keep that dish pointed back at one small blue planet, no matter how far it wandered from home. Nobody who built it expected to still be listening almost 50 years later. First it went to the giants. At Jupiter, it flew past a world so large that our entire planet would fit inside its great red storm several times over, and it caught the first hint of volcanoes erupting on one of the moons. At Saturn, it slipped beneath the rings and turned its cameras back for a look no one had ever had. For millions of people watching at home, these were the first real portraits of the outer planets, and they quietly rewrote the textbooks. Then Voyager did the thing it was truly built for. It kept going, past the last planet, past the edge of the map, out toward the enormous dark between the stars. And it did not go empty-handed. Bolted to the side of each Voyager is a golden record. On it, the people of Earth pressed a message for whoever or whatever might one day find it. Greetings in 59 languages, the sound of rain and a heartbeat and a mother's first words to her child. Music from Bach to Chuck Berry. From the very beginning, this was never only a mission to photograph planets. It was an attempt to send a message out into the dark, and to trust that a message, carefully made, can survive almost anything. There was one more picture to take. On its way out, Voyager turned around a final time and looked back at the whole solar system. From 6 billion kilometers, the Earth was not a world at all. It was a single point of light, smaller than 1 pixel, caught by chance in a stray beam of sunlight. The people who made that image still talk about what it did to them.
This was the pale blue dot. This was our willingness to see the Earth as a 1 pixel object in a far greater cosmos. It's that humility that science gives us, that weans us from our childhood need to be the center of things.
Today, Voyager 1 is more than 25 billion kilometers away. That number is hard to feel, so try it this way. Light, the fastest thing there is, needs almost a full day just to cross the gap between us. If you sent it a question right now, the earliest you could possibly hear back is nearly 2 days from now. And it is calling home with only a handful of watts, less power than the bulb inside your refrigerator. The people who listen never quite get over that.
Over 11 billion miles away, and so it comes in very slowly. But every bit left that spacecraft over 16 hours ago. Every bit is telling us something new that we haven't known before.
So how do you hear a whisper that faint from that far away? There are really only 2 moves, and the first one is obvious. You build enormous ears. NASA keeps giant dishes at 3 sites spread around the world, so that as the Earth turns, one of them is always facing Voyager. A larger dish simply catches more of the signal. But on their own, even dishes this big are not enough. The second move is the one that feels almost like a trick. The second move is patience. Here is the idea behind it. If a signal is too weak to read even once, you do not try to read it once. You listen to the very same message again and again, and you stack every copy on top of the last. The real signal is always there underneath, always leaning the same way, so little by little it adds up and grows. The noise is random. It leans every direction at once, so pile enough of it together and it starts to cancel itself out. Wait long enough, and the message simply climbs up out of the storm on its own. I wanted to feel that for myself, so I built a tiny version on my own computer. I took one short sentence and buried it in noise so thick that there is not a trace of it left to see. Listen to that just once, and the answer comes back as garbage. The message is simply gone, so I did the only thing you can do. I let the receiver listen to the same buried signal 96 times over and add every copy together exactly the way the real dishes do it. And out of that noise, the sentence comes back. Not almost, not close enough. The receiver rebuilds it letter for letter, then checks its own work and proves that every character is exactly right. It is a small thing, on a laptop, in an afternoon. But it is the same stubborn idea that keeps a real spacecraft reachable across all that emptiness. A weak signal is not a lost signal, as long as you are patient enough to keep listening for it. And that patience is not just a game for a home experiment. It is exactly what saved Voyager for real. Because in November of 2023, something went wrong. The signal was still coming in, steady as ever, but the data inside it had collapsed into nonsense, one meaningless pattern repeating over and over. Sit with that for a moment. You can still hear your spacecraft 25 billion kilometers away, older than almost everyone now working on it. And you cannot understand a single word it is trying to tell you. The cause was a small piece of failing memory inside a computer no one could ever reach again, where a single repair takes almost 2 days just to send and confirm. So the team did it the patient way. Over months, they found the damaged code, rewrote it by hand, and tucked the pieces into whatever scraps of working memory they could find. Then they sent it out into the dark, and they waited. And in the spring of 2024, Voyager answered, clearly, in its own voice again. Watch the room, the moment the first good data finally comes home. The rescue bought time, but it could not buy power. Every year the spacecraft grows a little fainter, and one by one its instruments are being switched off to save what little is left. 2 of them are still awake and still listening. Before long, Voyager 1 will become the first thing human hands ever made to drift a full light day from Earth. And still, every single day, it sends back something we did not know the day before. When I finally opened up my own little experiment, the sentence the receiver had pulled back out of the noise read like this: "The signal is weak. The message survives." Those words came from my laptop, not from Voyager, but they are the same quiet truth that is bolted to the side of that spacecraft in gold. A signal does not have to be strong. It only has to hold still long enough to be found and be honest enough to be checked. That is how a machine from 1977 can still whisper to us from between the stars. And it is why, all these years later, we still lean in to listen. If you could add one more thing to that golden record, what would it be? Tell it in the comments.